All right, everybody. How are we doing today? Welcome back to another episode of the Robbie Basel Show. And you might see another friend of mine join the show. It might be a little bit laggy because this man is going from the other coast of the other side of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, our second ever guest on the show, Mr. Rome Katie. Rome, how are we doing, my guy?
I, I'm doing great. How about you, Robbie? Thanks for having me on, dude. I appreciate it.
Of course. This guy went from having me on his show, the Starting Grid podcast, which link to that will be hopefully in the description if it works this time, because we've tried
Put
it
that in the
before,
description.
and the link didn't work. I don't know what I did wrong. We'll figure it out. 5 likes and I'll actually get a link to work. That'll be the thing of the day. But we have a lot to talk about later in the episode. I'm breaking down AFCON Asian Cup. You know the drill by now. We've done it for a month at this point. Also, shout out, by the way, because I just have to bring this up. The United States is playing in a World Cup that no one cares about. So shout out to the Beach World Cup. I'm not talking about it. We've talked about the most weirdest tournaments, but the United States is back at the Beach World Cup. Fire the cannons. We're not winning it. So anyway, we'll get to what we're here to do with Rome. He'll be here for approximately the first half of the show today. And we have the Super Bowl. We are finally here. I'm finally talking about it. I've waited 3 other episodes to talk about this game because what did I say last week? I'm waiting for the last minute to talk about this. And here we are. So here we are. Welcome to Super Bowl 58. A game that I don't think anyone wanted either team here for various reasons. You heard about what I said if you watched Into the Stands on Wednesday. I didn't want the Chiefs here because I'm tired of hearing about Taylor Swift. The Niners, I picked them at the beginning of the year, so I'm going to rock with that pick for the rest of the season. If you remember, go back to, I think it was September. Yeah, September is when I made that video. Right after week 1 happened, and I post my season predictions late, I had the Niners win the Super Bowl. And that's still a possibility. But Rome, we'll start with you, my friend. Welcome to the Super Bowl. What are you
Hey.
looking for in this game this week?
I think kind of what I'm looking for is just trying to see how these two teams match up. Because when the last time they matched up 4 years ago, you could tell these two teams are in very different places. You know, the Chiefs were just starting to get their dynasty ready. They already won that game. And then the Niners just came in off of kind of a Cinderella run that year with Garoppolo and those guys. And, you know, I feel like the Niners are in a completely different spot now. I think this year's team is by far better than what they had to deal with in 2020. I think we can all agree on that. But I do think the Chiefs will win this one. I don't know if we're gonna get to predictions yet, but I'm just gonna say it right now with my pick, which will be the Chiefs. As much as people want to say like, oh, Taylor Swift this, Taylor Swift that, like to me, I don't really care about it that much. I mean, it's cool to get like Taylor Swift's popularity in there, sure, like fine, I guess, but like I think when you're trying to really focus on the game part of it, I think it'll be very interesting to see how it will all play out. And I just think the Chiefs are just kind of inevitable at this point. Like the last couple of picks I made during the playoffs, which is on my show Bottom of 6 on Blaze Radio, blazeradioonline.com. Put that in the description as well, Robbie. So we're going to do a show on that tonight as well. So stay tuned for that as well. I got to hit a little shameless plug in there. But anyway, I said on those last couple predictions I made against the Chiefs, like the last 2 matchups they were, and I just thought like I just honestly kind of doubted the Chiefs to start this postseason. Like I think we all kind of did honestly, because coming into it we thought like, okay, this team wasn't as good as we thought it was going to be. How are they going to look come playoff time? And they've proved pretty much the whole NFL fan base wrong. And I think if Mahomes actually does win this Super Bowl, I think this will kind of vault him really neck and neck in the Brady conversation already, just because of the fact that he was able to basically carry this Chiefs team to a Super Bowl with virtually no weapons and a really great defense. So I think when you look at that, I think this elevates Mahomes' legacy as a quarterback, and we'll see how it all plays out. But I do have the Chiefs winning because, ladies and gentlemen, they're just inevitable. We just got to put that out there to rest, you know.
It's like when what was it? Thanos saying, "I am inevitable." Patrick Mahomes wins the Super Bowl. That's a good way to put it. By the way, just a fun fact: if you listen to the Starting Grid podcast, I plug my socials all the time in that episode, and Rome returned the favor by doing it a couple of times in my episode, and we're only 5 minutes in. So I'll just reiterate what I said on Wednesday. On Into the Stands, also link in the description. I love how these two are here. Like I said,
Hmm.
predicted San Francisco to win the Super Bowl, and the other team I predicted didn't make the playoffs. Thanks, Joe Burrow. But at the end of the day, these two, and I said it on Wednesday, these are the two best teams. This is probably the best match, one of the better matches we could have had. We all know that
Hmm.
the fans wanted Ravens Lions. And if you remember from last week, I said I didn't want it. I didn't want that. Because I I didn't like the Lions. And it's a very unpopular pick that I didn't like the Lions. I wanted Lamar Jackson to make it because I like Lamar Jackson. He's a very likable
Hmm.
person. And the Ravens team is likable, and then they choked it, and then that all happened. But these two teams here, well, I'll start with the Chiefs real quick. They are so different from last year.
Hmm.
What's elevated them I said it on Wednesday. What's elevated them more? The defense. Particularly, and I keep saying it, the two corners are what I will be watching out for. The two big wide receiver matchups, led by L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie, who I think Trent McDuffie is the most underrated rookie corner in the game right now. I
Hmm.
think some people will overlook him based on how much attention L'Jarius Sneed gets, because L'Jarius Sneed's only allowed one touchdown all year, and it was in the playoffs, which is one, ridiculous, and two, yeah, it's just insane what he's able to do at the cornerback position. The defense has played so well, and that's what's really helped them to get to the spot that they're in. Because their wide receiving game, other than one person who I keep highlighting as well, and Rashee Rice, is, in a word, frustrating, mid. You could call it whatever you want. But with Mahomes and Kelsey being together, they will go all the way with just using those two. They've had the passing game work with the weapons they have. They've had Isaiah Pacheco play very solid. I love the play of recent from Isaiah Pacheco. He's been really good. But and Colin highlighted this on Wednesday, and I forgot to mention him. Steve Spagnuolo, his experience in the playoffs as well. His experience in the playoffs is gonna be a difference maker. And I'll talk about San Francisco. I'll let you talk about them a little bit more in a moment, Rome. San Francisco has a completely different quarterback in Brock
Hmm.
Purdy, the former last pick in the draft, who people call a game manager. And you heard what I said on Tuesday. I think that whole idea of why people are criticizing Brock Purdy is stupid. Because he was the last pick of the draft. What expectations
Hmm.
do you want for this man? Come on,
Facts.
guys. Who was it? Damian Woody, I think. I think it's who talked about it on Get Up early last week. It's ridiculous that we're even discussing Brock Purdy, all these expectations. This guy was the former last pick in the draft. Was drafted to be a third string behind Trey Lance and Garoppolo,
Hmm.
and now he's putting you in a Super Bowl. Come on, guys, we don't need to be doing that. But back to the team itself. They have we'll talk about him a little bit later, Christian McCaffrey, who got some awards last night at the NFL Honors. They have one of the best wide receivers, if not the best wide receiver duo in football, in Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. One of the most frustrating yet talented tight ends in George Kittle, which just defines inconsistency every single week. And their offensive line is pretty decent as well. So these two teams, on paper, are the best two to go head to head. But like I said, I'm just saying this out right now. I am not expecting a high scoring game. I'm not.
Mm.
I am a. I am
So
expecting
you're
a
saying it's like
defensive
basically the
battle.
exact opposite of what it was last year then.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I am not saying
Interesting.
this will be
Okay.
Rams Patriots. I am not saying this will
We're
be Ram.
Whoa. Okay. Rams Patriots Super Bowl. Is that what we're doing right now with this whole
No,
thing?
not that
For
bad.
real?
I'm not saying it's. What did I say? I said it's
You're
not
saying it's
going
gonna
to
be like
go
a
that.
10-3 game? That's nonsense, bro. What are we talking
I'm
about?
not. No. You didn't hear what I said. I said it was not going to be like that, but it's going to be somewhere in the middle, like a little bit better than that, because
Okay.
these two
Fair enough.
defenses are going to put on a show for the first 30 minutes, and then offense will come alive in the second half. But Rome, I'll let you hand it back over to you. Talk a little bit about this San Francisco team.
Yeah, I think this what you mentioned about this 49ers team, like I mentioned earlier, right? This team is probably like the best Niners team we've gotten like for a long time. I think they just keep getting better and better, and they keep adding weapons to the fold, and they're just easily one of the more well-rounded teams we've seen in a very long time. And I think when you bring that to the table, when they probably could have gone to back-to-back Super Bowls if Brock Purdy hadn't messed up his finger or shoulder, whatever his injury was in the NFC Championship last year, like we can already be calling this team a dynasty. Like, I mean, even though they haven't won a Super Bowl yet, like with the talent that this team has, like we could have been calling this team a dynasty if they even got a chance to go to a Super Bowl multiple times and win multiple times before. So I think these are, like you've mentioned, this is like probably the best matchup we're going to get in terms of on paper with the two best teams coming into the fold, as well as just, like two great coaches as well, Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan, going back to back again in the Super Bowls over 4 years. And yeah, I just think this Niners team is very interesting to watch in terms of both ends of both sides of the ball. And they could present the challenge to the Chiefs, but I mean, they're just, like I mentioned, the Chiefs are just inevitable. Like, yeah, you might have the best weapons and on paper present a more of a challenge to the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are just inevitable. When you have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce clicking and that defense clicking, that's all you need. Like, you don't need those other skill weapons to do their thing. They could just like be role players and just do serviceable things and get like little 5-10 yard chunk plays every now and then. But once you get Mahomes and Kelce going and that defense going, it's pretty much wraps from there on out. So I think the 49ers, although they have the better team on paper, I think they'll be more challenged because of the fact that they're facing Mahomes and Kelce.
So we've talked about both teams. You addressed the coaches. I just have to bring this up before we go into score predictions. Kyle Shanahan what is this, his third Super Bowl now as a head coach?
I think, yeah, because he was
with the Falcons.
I'm coaching now with the Falcons, yeah, so I think it's his third, yeah.
So, could it be third time's a charm for Shanahan?
Possibly.
And will he, for once, not blow a second half lead? Like, he's done it twice. Like, listen,
Yeah.
it's mimicking Iona basketball. I feel like they're learning a couple of things from Shanahan.
But he's even been on the opposite end of that. Even in the last two matches with the Packers and the Lions,
exactly.
He's been on the losing end of it. He's the one coming back from it, and he's also been on this side where obviously 28-3 happened. So he's been on both sides of the equation already. So either the Niners can just be comeback kids and win it again like they have been this entire playoffs, or the Chiefs can just finally put an end to the Niners' Cinderella run, if you will, when they could have lost both games, really.
All right, Rome. I mean, I also forgot to mention this. You've seen this Niners team play a good amount of times against your Arizona Cardinals. So you should have.
I'm a very casual Cardinals fan. I haven't watched the Cardinals this year. I'm just looking for them to get Marvin Harrison and just keep him moving next year at this point. I really don't care, but I mean, nonetheless.
So we've talked about both teams. You've already said you're picking the Chiefs. Just reiterate on that a little bit. And what's your score prediction? And who's your Super Bowl MVP?
Ooh, okay. I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, kind of just doubling down on my Chiefs prediction. Like I've been saying this whole time, like they're just inevitable. I think when you look at once those guys click and their chemistry's there, and once you get Kelce in open space like he's been doing his entire career, they're just lethal. Because the fact that in the regular season, Travis Kelce wasn't really being used to that type of level. I mean, to be fair, though, he wasn't really doing that well throughout the regular season. And it's only been the playoffs where he's gotten back to like prime Travis Kelce, getting into those open spaces and just hitting those button hooks and just catching those 5-10 yard chunk plays that keep the offense moving. And I think if he continues to do that this Super Bowl, I think he has a chance to be Super Bowl MVP. But again, I think this is just Patrick Mahomes' Super Bowl. I think this is just his time to really cement his legacy and really, carry this team to a place where I, for one, didn't think they were going to be, especially after they played that Raiders game. I think it was like week 15, week 16 when they lost in that
around there.
I think it was that Christmas Day game. So I don't know if it was like 16 or 17 or whatnot, but when I was watching that game, I kind of thought to myself, like, dang, this Chiefs team is kind of all over the place right now. They just don't look like themselves. And it's kind of that narrative to where like the playoffs are just kind of a new season. And I feel like the Chiefs were kind of just like, okay, we're just going to let this like really bad regular season go and just have this be a clean slate. Once we get to that clean slate, we're just going to be able to just go out and run. And I think once you have that type of mentality that you just have a clean slate and you're just going for it, then that leads to more success, and that clears the mind of Mahomes and Kelsey from all the anxiety from the regular season and just get back to them playing their football that they know they can play. And once they have that, I think they'll be able to do that. So anyway, Chiefs prediction to win the Super Bowl, and I have Patrick Mahomes to win the Super Bowl MVP, which is pretty predictable, but it's Patrick Mahomes. Like, what else are we talking about here?
You got a score prediction for me?
Oh yeah, score prediction. I'll say 24-17 Chiefs.
24-17, I like that. So I'll reiterate what I said on Wednesday. The San Francisco 49ers are winning this football game. And like I said, my score prediction is lower than what Rome said. So people already thought I was absurd on Wednesday when Colin said 24-13 and Chris said 24-21. I'm going lower than that. So I think the first half in this game, if you're a Jets fan, so I'm wearing this, I think I'll bring this up. If you know Jets-Texans, how bad that first half was, I'm thinking it's going to something similar will happen in this first half of this game. Absolutely nothing. Because both of these teams have proven in the second half of how good they can really be. Particularly San Francisco. I'm just going to say right now, the Niners are winning this Super Bowl 17-14. Nothing is going to happen until like the fourth quarter. Brock Purdy is going to emerge on the last drive of the game, and Christian McCaffrey is getting at least one touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
My Super Bowl MVP will be Brock Purdy because they're not giving it to a skill player at this point.
Arizona
Though
native,
I would love
let's
for it
go.
to be Christian McCaffrey. And the Anna Fry lookalike will go out there and win his first Super Bowl. Kyle
Let's
Shanahan
go.
will also avenge this because just to continue the narrative, Kyle Shanahan would come back, in my prediction, would come back from three deficits in the second half, would be third time's a charm, so he can win his first Super Bowl. Like the NFL scriptwriters have two great choices to go with here.
Yeah, I think
wish
that's
I had
a very
a copy
fair
of
point.
it, but unfortunately the printer stopped working at school, so I could have not picked up my copy of the official NFL script, or else I would have brought it here with me. But
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And like one last thing to say for me is like, Brock Purdy Super Bowl MVP, Gilbert Arizona native. We just got to put that out there. The Arizona native about to get a Super Bowl MVP, man. That's making me hype.
I love that. Well, Ron, we'll keep you on for one more topic. And
Okay, cool.
last night we had the semi-controversial NFL awards because some of them I had some discussions last night with numerous people, whether it be in messages or on phone calls, that no one liked a lot of the winners. Not a lot of people liked some of the winners. So if you're looking over the list, I don't know. What's the most controversial winner of an award from last night?
I think when you really look at the controversial stuff, I think there's two awards that come to mind for me. I think that's the most obvious ones that kind of been taken away from last night, and that's Coach of the Year and Comeback Player of the Year. First, I will talk about Coach of the Year, in which I have the voting totals right here on my phone right now, in which both Kevin Stefanski and D'Amico Ryans had 165 total votes, but Stefanski had one more first place vote than D'Amico Ryans, which to me is a absolute robbery. Like, it's cool the Browns were 11-5, but that was because of Joe Flacco. That wasn't because of Kevin Stefanski. I know that might seem like an unpopular opinion to some people, but that was Joe Flacco's team. Kevin Stefanski was just there for the ride. Like, that was Joe Flacco's just comeback era type of thing, just coming into the fold. Like, he deserved. I wouldn't say. I'll talk about comeback player of the year in a second, but I think it was just Joe Flacco's time to shine. It wasn't really because Stefanski was there. Like, people give him way too much credit, I think, and I think D'Amico Ryans to me had more of a transformative impact on the Texans than what Stefanski had on the Browns this year. I think that's pretty evident to say on all levels, and especially with that rookie experience coming in and succeeding the way he has been, and basically developing two Rookie of the Year guys on the offensive and defensive side with Stroud and Will Anderson. I think that has to deserve some recognition for Coach of the Year, at least make it co-coaches of the year at this point. Just give this guy some recognition on some level because this guy deserves it for going 10-7 with a team that, in my opinion, was going to at least go 5 wins. They doubled that. So shout out to D'Amico Ryans. He really needs to get more recognition. And now, comeback player of the year, right? Damar Hamlin finished with more first place votes than Joe Flacco, but based off of this new system that they had with the voters giving a first, second, third place vote winner, it's a whole new system with the comeback player of the year stuff. I just think, I don't know. I mean, I guess Joe Flacco kind of deserved, like, I don't know. It's just, I'm kind of just tossing back and forth between this thing, with Coach the comeback player of the year and stuff like that, because Damar Hamlin almost died on the football field. And yet Joe Flacco came back just from signing with the Browns and going 11-5. Like, if it was any other year, though, like, Joe Flacco would have won this thing by a landslide. I don't think there's any question about that. But since it's Damar Hamlin, it just makes it like, I don't really know how to describe it. It's just, I think you got to help me out with this, Robbie, because I can't, like, really put 2 and 2 together at this point, because it's like, yeah, Damar Hamlin almost died and came back to life and just really had an insane comeback, and we shall be proud of him for that. But in terms of the playing field, Joe Flacco really led this Browns team to the playoffs when they really shouldn't have. So it's just kind of an ethical toss-up, but also like a football toss-up to me. I don't really know. You can help me explain that if you want.
So I agree with you on D'Amico Ryans. I thought he got robbed. I did for reference, I did not have either of them in the Coach of the Year conversation. If you watch my preview video, you know how much I was high on the Jets this year. You know that I had Rob Saleh Coach of the Year, and I think that's blasphemous because of what's come up about this team recently. I know Rome's having a good laugh over there. I'll start with Comeback Player of the Year. If you're really thinking about it, I hate to put it like this because this is going to sound really bad. The right person won last night. I really do think Joe Flacco deserved the win last night. And here's my reason for this. If Damar Hamlin played more than just being like a reserve guy, then I would have said Damar Hamlin any day of the week.
Yeah, that's fair.
But he didn't do anything. Like, Joe Flacco was like the 4th quarterback they used. How many quarterbacks did the Browns use? I know they had Deshaun. They had Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Yeah, they had DTR.
TJ Walker?
Yeah, I think so.
And then Joe Flacco went on some crazy run that actually, I believe, started the week of Jets-Texans. And however long ago that was probably at the beginning of December. And he led the Browns to the playoffs to get absolutely annihilated by C.J. Stroud. I see the argument for both of them. What's also funny is I thought one guy got really disrespected and I think should have been in the conversation. That's Breece Hall. Where the hell was he in this? So here's why I say Breece Hall. Breece Hall was, how many yards did he have this year? I don't know how many yards he had, but he came off a torn ACL and was like a decently big, impactful player for a Jets team that was really bad. He had 6 yards under 1,000 and missed like a game or two here and there. And it was behind one of the worst offensive lines of football this year. I mean, granted, some of his stats were really terrible, but I think coming off the torn ACL and coming back and being an impactful player on a team that really should have been in the playoff conversation, should have been more recognizable. Baker Mayfield, you can see the argument for him as well. I think if he beats the Lions, he will be higher up in this, but unfortunately, he didn't beat the Lions.
Yeah.
So, really, Damar Hamlin, Joe Flacco, I think they did it right with Joe Flacco. I really do think that. Coach of the Year, I hate Twitter. I hate it. Everyone was saying this should have gone to Dan Campbell. What drugs are you guys on?
He should have gotten to the conversation, frankly. I'm just going to put that out there. There should have been like a trio of people.
4? How many more wins did he have? 4 than last year?
I don't know.
Something like that. And his division got worse. D'Amico Ryans took a team that was projected to finish last in his first season and got them to be playing in the AFC divisional round against Baltimore. How does he not win it more? Oh my God. Like, Stefanski, you said it right. Stefanski's like that dude that just just can't sit in the front seat of the car. Like,
No.
always
You
in the
know
back
who
seat,
Stefanski
down
is?
the
You know who
right.
Stefanski is? He's the kid in the group presentation that got the A on the project but did nothing
Yes.
for preparation.
Yes.
He's the one that got the A on the project but did absolutely nothing to prepare for it.
1,000%. That's a perfect way to describe it. This guy, one, I never liked Stefanski, but this is what Stefanski's second or third time in the playoffs. Now, granted, he does at least have a playoff win in this
I
decade.
mean, fair enough, but like D'Amico
Well,
Ryan's got a playoff win as well, so I don't.
Exactly. Like, so D'Amico Ryan,
Like, what are we talking about?
what he was able to do with the squad that he had should have gotten him Coach of the Year, because he was able to also elevate 2 rookies to win Rookie of the Year on a team that, I mean, granted, they still had one big hole on their roster that really underperformed. Like, imagine if they had a run game. How good would that team be? If Damian Pierce didn't go off to the wayside and just be irrelevant. I think this would be even more of a landslide.
Yeah.
But D'Amico Ryan's got robbed. Lamar won MVP. I don't think anyone's surprised by that. Is there anything else that I'm missing? 'Cause I know I'm missing something.
Well, I was gonna say shout out to
Defensive
Cam
Player of the
Hayward.
Year.
I was also gonna say shout out to Cam Hayward for Walter Payton Man of the Year this year.
Oh, yeah.
So
1,000%.
shout out to him for him doing his work. And I just think one thing on the Man of the Year stuff, right? Like, I think it's not really talked about as much as it should be, because these guys are giving back to their communities and stuff like that. I know it's not publicized just for various reasons, but I think we really got to give these guys credit for what they're doing just outside of the football field. I think it should be more publicized and just more recognized for these guys, just going out of their way for their busy football schedules to just hang with these kids that aren't really in the best positions to succeed, and helping them on their way to succeed, or not just kids, but like people in general. So shout out to Cam Hayward for doing his work with his charities and stuff like that. I just wanted to shout him out, but you can go do your thing, Robbie.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I almost forgot Cam Hayward. I knew I was going to shout him out later, but the other robbery that I got a call about last night, Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know about that. It's kind of murky though, because like Myles Garrett and TJ Watt are cool, but like they were not. I mean, Myles Garrett was on a team that did well, but like TJ Watt wasn't on the team that did well either. Like, it's just again, it's kind of that murky situation where you have like Myles Garrett and TJ Watt in the same conversation. Like, they're 2 of the best pass rushers of this generation. I think that's pretty much set in stone. But I think, with it's weird, because like I don't know. I don't know. I don't really know how to feel about it. Like, it's cool. Congrats to Myles Garrett. Like, he probably put together a great year, but this award is basically just between Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, and Nick Bosa at this point. It's just all 3 of those guys just kind of tossing it like Roger Rafa and Novak at this point in tennis. Like, this is just kind of where we're at right now with this type of big 3 stuff going on right now, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that TJ Watt got absolutely robbed. I think someone should be criminally investigated for how he did not win. And listen, TJ Watt had an absolutely outrageous season. But Garrett, he ranked just 7th in sacks? What was TJ Watt? I know he was top 3. TJ Watt had more in every category pretty much than Myles Garrett.
Yeah, see, when you look at it like that, then he should have for sure won that. I don't know why people are freaking out about that.
Like, what does he have to do? What does this guy have to do?
Right.
Does he have to go to, like, Narnia or something? Like, what does he have to do? Like, does he have to go defeat some mega boss in...
What are we talking about? Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? What are we talking about in Narnia? Is that the type of vibe we're on right now, Robbie Basel? Is that the type of vibe we're on right now?
It's just vibes on the Robbie Basel show. You know there are just all these vibes here. It's literally just vibes.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
But listen, the Browns... I'm just going to say here, Micah Parsons being in this conversation, it wasn't Nick Bosa in 3rd. Micah Parsons was in 3rd this year.
Yeah.
And I love Micah Parsons. He's going to join... Who am I thinking of? He brought the big 3 well. It's like how they used to be in like the semifinals of Wimbledon, which I get to talk about in July, where you have the big three and some other and like that other kid from like another from somewhere else that just joins the picture out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're just someone else. Like it's the big three and like Tiafo. I don't know. Or
No,
like the
big
big
three in like
three
Alcaraz or Sinner or something like that.
and
Even though they both
Alcaraz.
won
That's a
Grand
good
Slam
better,
finals.
but the big three and Alcaraz.
Or Sinner
That's what
too. We
this
got
is
to give my
turning
guy
into.
Sinner some credit too.
Oh yeah, we hyped up Yannick Sinner on this show. I almost picked him to win, and I didn't. Very regrettable moment if you remember from those episodes back in early January. But to finish off with this, I can't justify it for Myles Garrett to win. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, if TJ Watt won, which I'm really hyping up TJ Watt because I did pick him to win this at the beginning of the year. And I was really sad. But it's a tough one, and I really do think TJ Watt deserved it more.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, Rome, thank you so much for joining me.
Yes,
I
sir.
really appreciate you joining the show today. Make sure to hit all the socials. Follow the Starting Grid podcast on Instagram. And Rome, you can now, my friend, leave the call if you can figure it out.
Yeah. One last thing. I just want to plug some other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Rome KDTV on Instagram. Go check me out there. At Rome Jacob1. Go check me out there on Instagram. Starting Grid Podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Go follow that right now. Prime F1 preseason. We're talking liveries, previews, outlooks. And then we're going to get into predictions. Then we're going to start getting into our race recaps and qualifying recaps and whatnot that we do every year. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a fun ride this year. Bottom of the sixth tonight, 6:30 Mountain Time, 8:30 Eastern Time on BlazeRadioOnline.com. Go check me out, Moira Boys, and Jordan Pullett. All three of us will be there for you. We'll break down stuff that me and Rob just talked about with NFL awards, Super Bowl, and also some NBA trade deadline deals as well that we're going to talk about as well. So go check that out as well. That's just about it for me, Robbie. So thank you so much for having me, my brother. I appreciate you.
Rome, 30 likes on this video, and Rome will guarantee me back on his show. That's
Spam that like button, people. Spam it.
Listen, you guys hit the like goal already for me to wear a damn suit and preach about a topic of your choosing. Listen, we almost had to talk about New York pizza, Rome. Like that's how crazy this could have gotten.
Yeah, it could have gotten a little extra crazy in there.
Yeah, you did vote for New York pizza, by the way. You did vote for it.
Yeah, no, I thought I voted for the Real stuff that I told you about, though.
Oh, you did? My mistake. I was thinking of somebody else.
No, you were thinking of somebody else. I voted for the Real one that I mentioned you.
Yes, you did. He wanted me to preach about Mbappe to Arsenal or something. So
yeah, yeah.
We will say goodbye to you, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, sir.
For joining me,
so much,
I'm by myself. And we will see you around.
Yes, sir.
See you around, my friend.
Yes, sir, bro. Appreciate you. Have a good one.
Of course. Leave a like for Rome. That was awesome. You don't see. Like, first of all, Rome shutting out all the plugs. I let him do that. 30 likes, and I'll guarantee you work with Rome. But let's head over to briefly what you're watching out for this week in the Premier League. Now, the Premier League is insanity, and I love it. I'm all here for it. Let's go through some of the big games for this weekend, and we're going to start us off with Man City. They are playing Everton. I love this matchup for Man City. City have won 5 in a row. If you really think about it, they haven't lost to Everton in their last 14. I think they make it 15 here. They are just too good. Everton can't score on the road. They're really bad on the road this year, and they're in 18th, and I think they're going to stay in 18th at the end of the weekend. I have Man City winning a very crucial game for Everton, by the way. I'll talk about why in a moment. I have City winning this one 2-0 over Everton. I think it's going to be a struggle in the first half for City, but I think they get back on track and go out there and win this contest. In the 10 o'clock session, there's a couple games I like. We'll start us off with Tottenham. They're playing Brighton. Tottenham are just being Tottenham. They draw Everton just to piss off everyone. They beat Brentford. They're cool. But now they're going up against a Brighton team that just came off a nice 4-1 win against Crystal Palace. And you take a look at the notes for this game, Brighton have been on a scoring run. And that's just what they needed at this part of the season. They're in 8th, trying to get back into that European competition race. They've scored 13 goals in their last 5. They ranked 7th in this season goals per match. But Tottenham and Brighton, the last 12 times they've played, have not drawn. So I do think we see a winner. For Tottenham, they ranked 3rd away from home this year, but this game, Luckily for them, are you fortunately or unfortunately for them, isn't on the road. And looking at their season stats, at home this season, they've also not drawn a match, so which is remarkable. They've won 8 of their 11 home matches, and they've been so good. And you would think, if you look at the projected lineups, I don't need Heung-min Son is back. I think that's going to give Tottenham the win this week. I'm thinking a 1-0 to Tottenham, low-scoring affair, back and forth all the way, lack of finishing in this one. I think Heung-min Son lets out some of the energy for losing with South Korea and goes out and wins this one 1-0. Listen, this Brighton squad is turning a corner at the right time, but the struggle with the injuries, I think could possibly hurt Brighton. I think it's really could. And then we have this game. We have Luton Town and Sheffield, the battle of the lower ranked sides. Luton have been on a tear. They are unbeaten in their last 5 in all competitions. They haven't lost in actually their last 6. And Luton have won the last 2 against Sheffield United. And Sheffield's been on a losing run. They've lost 3 straight against Brighton, Palace, and that 5-0 to Villa last week. Their last win was in the Cup. They beat Gillingham 4-0. I think their bad run continues. Their inevitability of being relegated continues. I think Luton Town win this game 3-0. Who they have, I think Adebayo is going to have a good game. Sambi Lokonga has been actually very underrated. Ross Barkley also in that midfield. They've been so good, and I'm really proud of Luton Town. I said they're going to be relegated, but I think they'll make a run for it. But really could be the team. Remember how Brentford was when they got promoted? They're playing like how Brentford was, because no one expected anything out of Brentford. But look at Luton. They've been great. And a win here and an Everton loss could put Luton a very crucial 4 points above the relegation zone and into a staggering up to 15th place. If that does happen, the league is in shambles because no one expected this from Luton Town. It's great what Luton is able to do. Really proud of Luton Town. I think they continue their streak and go out here and win. You have a couple other games of this session. Wolves, Brentford, I think it's going to be a snooze fest. Give me Wolves in that one. We have Liverpool and Burnley. I think Liverpool's going to win this one. Starting to bring up the trend of Ken Vincent Company be sacked this season. Then we have Fulham and Bournemouth. I like Dominic Solanke. He's so good. But he's starting to become a little bit repetitive, And listen, Dom Solanke didn't score last week. I feel like a good old 6.5 against Nottingham Forest. Fulham, another team that can defend but not score. I think Bournemouth wins, but I think it could come out of Solanke. You have Tavernier, who I also love, Marcus Tavernier. Sinistera. He's only had 2 goals this season with a 6.92, the player on loan. So I think he could possibly be an impact as well. But the battle of the 4-2-3-1s give me Bournemouth. And then we have our last game of the day, Newcastle against Nottingham Forest. Give me Newcastle in this one. Not a lot of draws tomorrow is what I will say for this one. If you look at what Newcastle is going to be throwing out on the field, I think it's going to be a 2-1. I like the recent play of Taiwo Awoniyi, Morgan Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi, Alanga. That front 4 looks so good for Nottingham Forest. But on the opposite side, you've guys like Callum Wilson, Almiron, Guimaraes. They have a lot of great players. Remember, this Newcastle team is playing without Alexander Isak, who's going to be likely, according to this, out till the end of the month. So what they can throw on the field with what they have a very underrated player in Sean Longstaff. The back 4 of Shar, Bultman, Byrne, and Trippier have been really good. Dubravka and net, he's not really good, but they did lose Nick Pope for the season. So I think they're going to go out there and get it done. Their attack is just too good to not win this game. And then on Sunday, we have my boys from Arsenal. They play West Ham. I think this is going to be a struggle for Arsenal. I really do. They're going to be riding so high from that win from last week that I have a feeling they could really come crashing back down to earth. I don't think that happens, though. The revenge of Declan Rice. Listen, they've kept a lot of clean sheets. Arsenal ranked 3rd away from home this year. And West Ham haven't kept a clean sheet in a while. I think that continues. Arsenal it's 3rd time's a charm for Arsenal because West Ham won the last 2. Give me an Arsenal win 2-1. I think Arsenal are going to struggle in the opening half and then go out there and grab a late win. And then Aston Villa against Manchester United. Give me a draw. in this one. I think United are going to continue with their decent run of form here. Aston Villa last time out won 5-0 against Sheffield United in the league. They just came off a midweek loss to Chelsea in the FA Cup. United have won 4 of their last 5 in all competitions, beating teams like West Ham, Wolves. They've beaten Newport County, Wigan, which I think everyone's going to overhype, and they drawn Tottenham. So United have been on a tear, and they've won their previous 3 against Villa. I think they're going to be unbeaten in their last 4 against Villa. Give me a draw in this contest. And then Monday, we have Palace and Chelsea. Give me Chelsea in this one. They're going to be... Can they start to turn a corner? I think Chelsea could possibly be the ones to turn a corner after their win against Villa. Recently, Chelsea haven't lost to Palace in their last 13. I think they make it 14. They've also won their last 13 against Crystal Palace. Eze, though, it's going to really come down to Eze and Elise. And playing at Selhurst Park is a problem. The duo of Eze and Elise, what they can do for you on the field, I think is going to cause some problems. So give me Chelsea, though. I think it's going to be close. I'm actually going to say 2-1. Actually, I just got word that Eze is doubtful for this game. So I think this could cause even more problems. Give me a 2-1 to Chelsea on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we're going to be doing an earlier episode. I might even record it on Monday and post it on Tuesday because next week is the return of the Champions League. We're going to have a video come out. I got to remember to do this. I'm going to have a video come out. I'm going to record it possibly on Monday and post it on Tuesday, where I preview the matchups for the Champions League round of 16. Because the Champions League kicks off with Copenhagen against City and Leipzig Real Madrid, 3 o'clock on Tuesday. The Champions League is finally back. And of course, this is a quick note. Into the Stands is on Valentine's Day. Comment below what I should do for that episode. That really possibly cringy episode of Into the Stands next week. Heading now to the glorious AFCON and Asian Cup final. We're finally here. What's up, chat? We finally made it. We'll start off with the Asian Cup, where we saw a stunner with Jordan beat South Korea. And we talked about that on Tuesday, with Jordan beating South Korea. But Qatar has done it. And it's led by a late goal by Almoez Ali, who I haven't been able to talk about a lot in this tournament. Akram Afif also netted a goal. But an Iran red card really sealed the deal late on. They had chances at the end, but at the end of the day, it's not enough. Despite having 23 shots in the match from Iran, Qatar, the hosts, are going to the final. And they'll be playing Jordan. What a weird final. A very, very weird final. I don't know what to say. I couldn't have been more wrong. Jordan, a team that I think I had make the knockouts in the beginning, and Qatar, who I had winning Group A, this is nuts. You wouldn't have expected this final at the beginning of the tournament. How did we get here? Let's talk about it. Qatar opened up the tournament by beating Lebanon. They beat Tajikistan. You know, everyone has to go out there and beat Tajikistan. Then they beat China. Good for them. And then they went to the knockouts. They beat Palestine. We all knew that was going to happen. Then they went to penalties against Uzbekistan, and that was where the worry began. And then they beat Iran. And tomorrow morning, they have a chance to go out there and win back-to-back Asian Cups. This Qatar team is good. And they're way, way better than I could have possibly expected. And they are led by Akram Afif. Akram Afif, 5 goals in the Asian Cup. He's played so good in this tournament. 5 goals. I mean, he currently plays in the... How does he play in the Qatari League? How does he do this? He should be playing in a better league. 5 goals, 3 assists on an 8.36 in the tournament. He's going to win the player of the tournament if they go out there and win the final. I really think that is inevitable. They score a lot of goals from open play. They have 2 other stars who I like. Asan Al-Haidos, who has 3 goals. And the semi-frustrating yet very talented striker, Almoez Ali, who I think is going to be the real player to watch out for. They rank 3rd in average rating. They're 5th in goals per match out of everybody, which is interesting. And they also concede a decent amount. but they're tied for first with Jordan in clean sheets, and I think that's what it could possibly come down to. The stats really point towards the Qataris to go out there and win this match, and the 58th best team in the world has qualified for the Asian Cup final, and I can't wait to see them take the field, and they'll be playing Jordan. Amazing how they've gotten here. Amazing. And what's really prevailed Jordan this tournament? Goal scoring. It really has. And they're led by Yazan Al-Naima and Musa Al-Tamari. They've both been phenomenal. 3 goals apiece. You also look at Al-Naima. He has 2 assists as well. Al-Tamari has 1 assist. And both of them are in the top 3 of average rating on this team. For those who don't know where they play at, one plays in Qatar and the other plays... I actually don't know. It's not loading. He plays for Montpellier in the French leagues. So shout out to the guy who plays at Montpellier. Jordan is set 3rd in goals scored per match, only behind Iraq and Japan. But they don't possess the ball a lot. And I think that's what could possibly haunt them. They also concede an okay amount of goals. They're one of the top teams in clean sheets. Their attack has been really good, but their passing has not been great. Their crossing hasn't been great. They're ranking the lower percentiles in that statistic as well. And their defense is pretty okay, but you wouldn't expect very much. So, who wins this final? The home side is winning this final. If Jordan wins this, that would be ridiculous. If Jordan can find a way to come out and win this match, I mean, let's just pull up the Jordanian national team again. The Jordanian national team, who have a couple star players. Let's look at their, what are we looking for? Competitive record. They've never made it to the World Cup. This is the farthest they've ever gone in the Asian Cup. Their last 3 times they've made it, the only other 3 times they've ever made it, they finished 7th, 6th, and 9th. And where they are now is ongoing. They have made a very respectable run to the final. A sleeper, you can call it. But the magic has to run out eventually. I really hate to say that. I really do, because I feel horrible with saying that they will likely be eliminated and come out and lose this final. But it's inevitable that the minnow of this tournament comes out and they're going to be likely, their run is going to end here. Very respectable run, though, from Jordan. I think, because with the way, let's look at, where are they in World Cup qualifying? In World Cup qualifying, I know they're in the second round. The Jordanian national team is concerning as well, because they only have 1 point in their first 2 matches. But they've lost to Saudi Arabia, and they drew Tajikistan. How are they here? This is insane. They do get to play Pakistan twice, so they're going to have a chance to go through to the next round of World Cup qualifying, but Jordan has a chance. And I think this is really going to start to propel them, though. Last time we saw a team that was like a sleeper after a big tournament, they've really fallen off. A team like an Oman, who's what I'm really looking out for there. So, Asian Cup final prediction. I'm going to say Qatar 2, Jordan 2, a winner in extra time. 3-2 final in extra time for the Asian Cup final. It will be chaos, it will be beautiful, and it'll be the perfect way to start your Saturday. And now to the AFCON final. Who do we have here? We'll start off with the semifinals, where we had an insane match between Nigeria and South Africa. Nigeria, the team that we all expected to make the finals. They're ranked 42nd in the world. How did they not make the final? I'll tell you how they made the final. All penalties. I'm dead serious. William Trust Okong got a penalty in the 67th minute, and you thought it was over then, but Tepelo Mokoena South Africa got a penalty, and Tepelo Mokoena scores the penalty for South Africa. The best named team in the league has a chance. Unfortunately, they got a red card, and then we went to penalties where we had Mofifi score, and then Mokoena got a penalty saved. And then Omero scored, and Mayambela scored, and then Ola Aina missed it. And then Magokba missed it. And then Trust Akong scores, Mavala scores, and then Iheanacho wins it for the team in green. Nigeria advances to the AFCON final. Fair play to both teams. Like, statistically, South Africa were the better team statistically. They had a little bit more on the XG. Equal amount of shots. It's a very balanced game. South Africa dominated more possession. They had more passing. South Africa missed the bigger chances. And Nigeria, fair play to them. They fully deserve to be here. But South Africa, this is a good boost for confidence-wise for South Africa. Because they now, they play in the bronze medal final, bronze match tomorrow against a team we haven't talked about yet. But we get to see this matchup again in Africa World Cup qualifying in June. These two will go head-to-head on June 5th in Africa World Cup qualifying. I love it. South Africa, we don't see them play after this again till March. They play Andorra and Algeria before playing in the World Cup qualifying group that sees such giants as Nigeria, but sees such minnows as Lesotho and Zimbabwe. So, listen, fair play to South Africa. They really had a great tournament. A lot of players to watch out for in the future. Temba Swane, Tepelo Mokoena, fair play to them, but it was not enough. So who are they playing in the final? They'll be playing, drumroll please, Ivory Coast? Am I reading that right? Hold on. No. They're not kidding. Ivory Coast made it to the final. A team that barely made it. They were one of the last teams to make the knockouts, just like Jordan. And they've made it here. A team that's their only win in their first 4 matches in regular time was against Guinea-Bissau. A team that lost 4-0 to Equatorial Guinea. A team that had to go play Senegal, Mali, and then the DR Congo. Made it to the final. This sport's amazing. This is amazing. Whoever disses on this tournament saying it's not one of the best ones in the world, you have to see this. Ivory Coast don't score a lot of goals. They don't have a goal scorer who scored more than 1. It's insane. They lost 4-0 to Equatorial Guinea a couple of weeks ago. They had double the XG of Equatorial Guinea. It lost 4-0. They've gone out and beat Senegal, which is impressive because they had to get a late penalty to go out and beat Senegal. Then they went out and beat Mali after a 120th minute winner after having half the XG of Mali. And they played the DR Congo on Wednesday and won 1-0. Courtesy of a goal from Sebastian Haller to send them to the AFCON final as the hosts. Another tournament where I said I couldn't doubt the hosts. And they actually went out and did it. Fair play to Ivory Coast. And they have some players that you have to watch out for that I completely forgot about. One of them is Haller. Frank Kessie, Willie Bali, Dicka at center back. Seko Fofana is pretty good. In goal, they have Yahia Fofana. The Fofanas are going nuts. But what they've been able to do is insane. And this team really shouldn't be here. but yet they find a way. They got out of the hardest tree of the tournament of this round by beating Senegal, a Mali team that barely beat Burkina Faso, and then beat the team that went out and beat the Ghanaians just a couple days earlier. And we have this final. Insanity is what this is. Now, what were we missing? Well, Victor Boniface for Nigeria didn't even make it to the roster because he's injured. And imagine if this team had Victor Boniface. That's the craziest part about this whole thing. Let's look at the numbers. Nigeria unbeaten in this tournament. Just saying it out loud right now. Nigeria are unbeaten. They haven't lost a match since January. They've lost once since March 24th of last year in an Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against Guinea-Bissau, which is actually very funny. But their other loss was a friendly to the Ghanaian national team. This year they've drawn Equatorial Guinea. We've seen this game already. I almost forgot to mention that. We've seen this play out already. Because they were in the same group. And how did it end? A Trust Okong penalty. This Nigerian team knows how to score penalties, I'll tell you that much. They don't score a lot from open play. I will tell you that. Yeah, they do not know how to score. If you look at the Africa Cup of Nations statistics, they have scored almost as many goals on open play as penalties. They're led by Ademola Lookman for the Nigerians. And the Ivory Coast, a team that no one expected to be here, who've only scored 6 goals all tournament, will be led by Sebastian Haller. This game will also be going to extra time. This game will be a back-and-forth showdown. Nigeria is winning this. The Nigerian national team, a team that a lot of people expected to win this tournament, in a rematch of a group stage contest, Nigeria will win this match 2-0. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. Mark my words, Nigeria wins this final. Don't be shocked if Ivory Coast wins it, but that would be a phenomenal comeback story if Ivory Coast comes out and wins this thing. Because it will be chaos. It will be chaos if they come out and win this. Finally, as a referee in the soccering game, ooh, we just have a development. Interesting. So, if you don't know, if you've been living under a rock, I did not know about this. The IFAB, which runs the laws of the game, and it's like the Rules Federation for Football, implemented the idea of using what's called a blue card in soccer / football in the coming future. And they're due to announce protocols for a trial on this rule on Friday, today. But there will be no announcement on this till after IFAB's annual general meeting on March 2nd, when all proposed trials and law changes are discussed for being approved for use from starting June 1st for the new season. FIFA distanced itself from the reports of a blue card late on Thursday night, which I didn't actually know about. But let's just explain what the blue card would be. If you know the sport of rugby or hockey, we'll go from the rugby perspective. That's how I interpreted this. Whenever you give out a yellow card in rugby, you send the player to the sin bin, which is like the penalty box of rugby for a certain 10 minutes. And that's what they were proposing here with this rule change. Is that a blue card could be shown, from my interpretation, like that could be something in between a yellow and a red. But if you get 2 blue cards, you could be sent off. I can't keep a straight face while saying this, because this whole idea is ridiculous. But IFAB made this comment today. FIFA made this comment today, excuse me. FIFA wishes to clarify that report of a so-called blue card at elite levels of football were incorrect and premature. Well, that's the change. Any such trials, if implemented, should be limited to testing in a responsible manner at the lower levels, position that FIFA intends to reiterate when this agenda item is discussed at the IFAB AGM on March 1st. Sin bins have been already a successful implementation in the lower levels of football since 2019, which players are ordered to leave the field for 10 minutes if they show disrespect towards an official. That's the smaller end of it. Now it can be like more stuff can be result in a blue card. But the new trial, which could be possibly coming next year, but could be, which will include situations in which a player deliberately takes out an opponent in an attacking situation where a red card isn't warranted. So you wouldn't hand out a yellow, you'd hand out, yes, blue card, go to the penalty, go to the sim bin. I can't keep it straight. I can't do it, chat. I can't do it. Like, you get why part of this happens. Like, England. I'll bring up England. I love English football. But just like this article explains this very well. Grassroots football in England, which is a particular problem with referee abuse, has been using the yellow card to indicate the offense across 31 leagues. And now they could be possibly bring up the blue card. But the trial over the course of next season won't be permitted at the very top level and be 26-27 at the earliest before it could enter the laws of the game. So we wouldn't need to see this for a while. But just the idea of it, from a referee's perspective, I'll go to my analysis of this now, after reading this article. Why? Like, why? All of these new rule changes that they have brought to fruition, the ideas of VAR, new offsides rules, it's hurting the game more, making it more complicated, and making it harder for officials as well, because now you have to have like, oh, this is a yellow card decision. This is now a blue card decision. Now we have a red card situation. Amazing! That's not what it's like at all. Not at all. It's unnecessary that they can even propose this idea. This isn't rugby. This is not hockey. This is the most popular sport in the world. Having the biggest sporting event in the world. I said it. The World Cup is bigger than the Super Bowl. I think we all expected that, but just bringing that up. This has some of the best sporting events every single year. Why change rules that don't need to be changed? Why make it more complicated? Because I feel like this addition of more rules could drag people away from the sport itself. And I don't think we would want to see that. Like, now you'd have to hear like, oh yeah, blue card for dissent. Woo. Why? Why? Give him a red. Explain it easier to give out what should be what. That's my thing on it. Make it easier to say what card should come out when. It's not that hard. Unless it is, I don't know. I've gone on long enough. More thoughts on this will come in March when they actually propose this. On that note, that'll be the end of today's episode of the Robbie Basel Show. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you like what you see, hit the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel. Check out all the links I'm going to throw in the description. I'll probably throw a lot of them. Maybe not all of it, but I'll make sure to put in as much as I can. With the word count that I have, because I actually have a lot of things to put in the description now. So, on that note, I'm Robbie Basel saying so long. Once again, thank you for Rome to joining the show today. Enjoy your weekend. See you guys Tuesday to break down the NFL season, AFCON, and the Asian Cup fully. It's a sneak peek for Tuesday. On that note, have a good weekend. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, everyone.